Good evening and welcome to Thinking Thursday for July 23rd, 2020. 2020, what a year. Well, we're on the downside of 2020, and let's hope when it's over, we start 2021 with a whole new whatever. But we pray that it's not like this one. I'm your host, Bronwyn Lucas, and welcome again to Thinking Thursday, a time when we address mental health issues, mental wellness issues from an African African perspective. Um, my belief is that all health is mental health. So when we are talking about mental health, that includes our physical health, that includes our academic health, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, our financial health, just any part of our health has to do with our health and well being. So, tonight, get ready. I have two guests on tonight. Since we're talking about, oh no, what to do when school starts, I've invited two teachers. One is a high school teacher, Trish Turner. She's a fine arts teacher and arts educator. And Kanetra Cooper. She is a science teacher and she teaches elementary. So I wanted us to have a conversation about what is this year going to look like and hear some things from a teacher's point of view. At the end, I'm going to tell you about some things that we're doing with Able Counseling and Consulting to support families. But as always, we want to start off with some breathing and calming down and centering and taking away the cares of the day. So if this is your first time, let me tell you what I mean about this breathing. We practice deep breathing because it allows us to get more air, more oxygen into the brain, and oxygen flowing through our body so that we can function better, we can relax, and we can focus. So, the way you do proper deep breathing is we're going to breathe in through our nose very slowly to the count of 4 and out through your mouth. As you're breathing in through your nose, I want you to push your stomach out. You're going to breathe in so deeply that it's just filling up with air, and we'll slowly let it out. Let's try it. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Let's just do one more. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. As I said, we are ready to start talking about this school year. And as you know, it's been a lot said about what will happen this school year. Will we be live? Will we be virtual? Just what's going to happen. And really, it's been it changes. It's been an ongoing, ever changing issue, and we're not quite sure what that looks like. Well, as of now, today, and who knows what tomorrow may bring, we are going to have start school virtually here in Tarrant County, where I am. Throughout the country, it's different in different places. But many places are not starting right away to jump into going to school. That seems to be where we are. Well, there's so many views of what this is going to look like. So I want to first introduce my guests. I have Trish and I have Kanetra. Ladies, are you on?
Yes.
I hear one. I think that's Trish. Trisha, tell us a little about yourself, your background and education.
Okay. As Brawlin stated, my name is Trisha Turner. I've been teaching the past 22 years, um, and I teach visual arts in Tarrant County, and I have a passion for the visual arts. My mother was an art teacher as well. She retired from it. And let's see, I'm a mother of two. One child is in college, third year, and then I have a 10th grader. And so I am glad that we are actually starting virtual learning first, um, this first semester. So that's
And in
pretty
your
much.
district, is it just the semester that you're starting? The 6 weeks, 4 weeks? For you guys, how long are you going to be virtual?
At the present time, I do not know. We do not know, I think, as a district. But we are required to report back, I think it's August 6th. And then we have in service for like maybe a week and 2 days. And then students will start on, I believe, the 17th or 16th of August.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
Kanetra
check.
Cooper, our elementary teacher, are you there? And I know she had a delay, but she will join us shortly. So there were some things that I thought would be beneficial if we talked about this. And feel free to join in your questions. It doesn't matter where you are in the country. I see PK from Houston. I see Ebony, one of my students from Kentucky, from we won't say how many years ago, but wow. It doesn't matter where you are in the country. If you have kids and they're going back to school, the concerns are the same. So I thought it would be good to have teachers, educators who are also parents talking about what does this look like. So I wanted to start with asking, from a teacher's point of view, what do you think? What is your view of this virtual education?
Well, since I'm the only one on at the moment, um, virtual, I think it's a plus. Um, I know we started off, we were kind of thrown in it in the spring semester, and so we weren't as well prepared as we should be this fall. And virtual learning, um, nothing. Um, it's not the same as hands-on or in-person learning by no means. But for safety reasons, I think this is better than right now in-person learning. And what our department has done for the summer was we started preparing for the worst as if we may not be in school. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have already devised our curriculum that we're going to be um, teaching to all of our students, may it be from Art 1 students to advanced students, AP students. And so that's where we are as a department at my school.
And so what? It looks like your district has been ahead of the game and they're planning. But here are some of the challenges that I often hear and I understand is that how do you handle it when everybody doesn't have the necessary electronic equipment? How do you think your district is going to handle that?
Well, what my district did in the spring was they disseminated Chromebooks throughout the district. They had several locations that they passed out Chromebooks, and I think they even provided Wi-Fi or hotspots in certain areas where it was possible that kids may not have access to, the internet. And I believe they will do the same this fall. I have no reason to doubt, otherwise.
And that is
Um,
what some of the things
so
I've heard. Go on.
the biggest concern is making sure that kids have access to the technology they need, as well as the internet, Wi-Fi, and everything accessible to them, so they can do their at-home learning.
One of the things I like to say is, we have been referring to this as homeschool. I want to give you a different perspective on that. Homeschooling is a specific entity in which parents choose to educate their children at home. They're not going by someone else's guidelines. They are not going by TEA standards. They're not working toward a test. They don't have to follow someone else's curriculum. When they are homeschooling, they are educating their children at home. That is what homeschooling is. What we're doing now is not homeschooling, it is having school at home. And the reason I make that distinction, one, I have friends who have homeschooled, and I truly appreciate homeschooling. I don't want to get it confused. And when you are homeschooling, you are the person in charge of your child's education, and you're there by choice. When you are having school at home, you are the default teacher in so many ways. It is not your choice to be there. You are there, like I say, by default. So we're having school at home, not homeschooling. That I think that's important. Um, Ms. Turner, what can you tell us about? And so there are different ways it's going to look. One of the things we're looking at is how is this platform going to work out? So there's something called synchronous and asynchronous education. Would you like to talk about it a little, Trish, or you want me to go there?
Well, yes, if you can provide TEA guidelines on that, because I don't have it in front of me,
Right,
the exact definition that they're,
right.
putting out for everyone.
So let me explain the concept. Synchronous learning can be online, and it's real time, and everybody is doing it at the same time. They are in sync. So if there is synchronous education, a teacher would stand before the classroom and they would teach, and all the students that teacher has, their first period students, would all log in and they would hear that teacher teaching. Or it might be that that teacher's first, second, third, what's on their schedule. All of their students are on at one time looking at that teacher teach live. Or it could even be a video of that teacher, but it's up for a certain amount of time and the students have to log in. Asynchronous, a meaning not in sync, is can be many things, but the basic difference is that the platform is up there. Students can check in on their own. So with let's look at high school, and we'll talk about elementary second. But in high school, it might be that okay, I'm taking English 3, and I normally have it on my schedule at first period, and first period is 7:30 in the morning. I don't really want to get up at 7:30. So I can get up at 9, log on to whatever platform it is, and then I can see the class. I can see the video. I can log in asynchronous. I do it when I want to, when it works for my life, which is good for some families because there may be 3 kids in the family and one computer. So if you have 3 kids, one computer, and you want everyone to be on at the same time, that can't happen. And in some districts that are larger, if they give out the Chromebooks or the laptops, if you have 2 kids, you're only going to get one. If you have 3 kids, you're only going to get one. You don't get that second one until you hit the fourth kid. So everybody can't be on. I'm looking at a comment from Maryland, and she says that her son's district issues Chromebooks as well, but they're and it has not been a good experience for them. She says the Chromebook didn't work in the Zoom meeting, and it was a mess. And I've heard that from some. It depends on where you are, how good your Wi-Fi is, and even with the hotspots, some of the hotspots aren't hot enough, and it just doesn't work well. So it may be that that I don't know. That's one experience. What have you heard? Have you gotten any feedback, Trish, about how it works for you guys?
No, we haven't. We should be hearing something hopefully shortly from our principal as well as other administrators about how this is all going to work out because at the end of the school year, students did turn in their Chromebooks. All of them, I don't know, were collected, but I'm sure we have to disseminate quite a bit this fall.
Mm. Oh, so
So
yours
we
were
have yet to
collected
hear.
again?
I'm sorry.
You say your calls were your Chromebooks, they collected them at the end of the year? Mm. Hold on just a second. We're trying, our second speaker got disconnected. So we're just going to connect her in right now. Not
I don't know
quite
if it was
sure what
collected
happened.
totally. Hello?
Trish, we were reconnecting Kanetra. Hopefully, she was somehow not in the call. What were you
Right,
saying?
I'm on now.
Okay. Um, and I'll introduce you again in a second. Um,
Okay.
Trish, you were saying now. Can you say that again about how you guys manage the Chromebooks?
Okay, so I was just giving an example. I'm also a senior sponsor. So with our seniors, we collected our Chromebooks, but all of them were not collected at the same time. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's very possible there may be ninth graders or 10th graders that still have their Chromebooks from the spring semester. I am not sure. I don't have knowledge of that. But they will take a time period where they will be passing out Chromebooks throughout our district.
Have you heard any feedback about how the hotspots worked?
No, I have not.
Mm. We also have joining
Oh,
us our elementary teacher, Kanetra Cooper, who is also a teacher in Tarrant County. We were just talking about I went through the explanation of synchronous versus asynchronous education, and we were talking
mhm.
about just how do you know how it worked for your students, just the technology end of it.
So for the most part, as Trish said, we did issue Chromebooks out to any and every student that did not have access to their own personal technology. As far as collecting those, we did not collect Chromebooks from students who are scheduled to return to a Tarrant County campus. So for that, students have kept their Chromebooks throughout the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in that retrospect, so parents had to fill out a Google form to put all their information in. They did a drive-through to their home campus and collected the Chromebooks, and so we issued those in that way. As far as the hotspots are concerned, we did have a couple of students on my campus that were having issues with even when Spectrum offered free in-home internet to any household that had school-age children. There were still some situations where there were students who were outside of that band, and so we did issue out the hotspots to some of those students so that they could have access to the internet.
And those are some of the barriers that are still going to be in place is making it work, and that's going to be an issue. Now I know in your particular district and in some other districts last year, it was basically a no fail policy. If you turned in anything, you were going to pass. They had something called grace before grades. Can one of you tell me about that?
Yes, I can start off with that. So, and really, I have to give credit where credit's due. The district really tried to be sensitive of whole family life situations. So everybody was sort of in a panic. So this grace before grades was a very lenient policy that pretty much said if the student logged in and did one assignment out of 20, they tried. And so grace before grades really put teachers in a position to really think about how we were noting the progress for each student, and are we really taking into consideration that this particular child could possibly be in a really, really bad situation because of the emergency pandemic. So, for example, the communication was teachers, you are to put at least 30 to 45 minutes worth of instruction per day for each student. The student needs to at least do 2 assignments per week. And then we're just going to look at one of those assignments. And if that student did the assignment, we're going to go ahead and give them a progress. So if that student didn't do any assignments, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not going to pass. And so that was the communication to parents. Just because your child has missing assignments doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to fail. And for teachers, we were trying to understand, well, what are we grading them on merit? I mean, how are we going to document their progress? So it was basically, as long as the student went in once a week and did anything, we needed to take that into consideration, that that child may have really been going through something that was preventing them from um, putting forth their best effort. And so it was a really hard position for us as teachers to be in, I know at least for me. And now that we are coming off of that pandemic, to go into a virtual setting in a real school setting where we're not going from NP for no progress or PR for progress, but now you're actually going to get grades for your work. I'm really concerned with the mind frame because some students did take advantage of the pandemic and they lost that work ethic.
Mm, that is true. What is your view, Trish, on grace before grades?
Well, um, let's see. I know a lot of teachers found it to be very challenging and hard to swallow. And each child is in a different, circumstance. And so, one of the things that administration conveyed to us is to be mindful that our children are coming from different backgrounds, different parents, different education, social economic, just everything. And so just try to be mindful when you're making assignments and and if, for example, you give them um, three assignments, because what basically the way my department set up was we gave them in units, and so each week they would have a different unit to do. But within that, there were like little mini assignments. So if they could do it, just some of the work, we gave them that grace. And so, as Kanetra was saying, it was a lot of grace this past semester. A lot of grace,
Right.
Do you feel,
a whole lot of grace given.
she stated she felt it hurt the work ethic of students. How do you feel? Do you think it hindered the work ethic any?
It actually varied. For example, I'm going to say my high maintenance or my high achieving students, they continue to do and strive and flourish. And then I had students that were the in class setting that may not have worked, but they worked well at home and did work. And so I think each student is different. It just depends on if they have that support that they need to be successful, So I had a spectrum. Some of the kids that I would thought that would be successful at home were not
Mm-hmm.
successful, and then, like I said, the ones that were not successful in class were successful. And then, like I mentioned, my high maintenance achieving students, they told the line. They did their work. I didn't have to contact them or their parents.
Mm,
So I think it just varies each student, the circumstances, the support that they may or may not have, the parent expectation, whether or not the teacher is contacting the parent as well as the student. All that comes to play, I guess, with the child truly being successful. Parents following up to make sure their child is doing the work and actually going online, because parents do have access to their child work. Um, and so it's just a matter of taking the initiative, I think, with parents to follow up to make sure their child is doing what they are saying or stating they are doing. It doesn't hurt to follow up. It never hurts to follow up and check.
and I just see a comment where one parent who works in education says that she had her son complete every assignment. his teacher sent, and he is in, I think, maybe eighth, ninth grade. Kids grow up on me, and I forget. But she made him do every assignment, and as a parent, I did the same. If you have the assignment, it should be done. So this year, for your district, what is it going to look like? I understand that the rule of grace before grades is not going to be the same this year. That numerical grades or alphabet grades will be given this year because basically last year it was a pass, a completed, but you didn't have an actual grade. So, do you know how that's going to look, or has it been fleshed out for you guys as teachers?
It has not. We
As
don't know as of yet the true guidelines. What's going to take place.
we I know it has been communicated that it will be a numeric grading system. It will no longer be the progress or no progress. So I believe that much has been communicated. As far as how will that look, as she said, that hasn't been outlined, but their overall goal is to say we're going to try and allow the virtual learning environment to be as robust and mirror as much of the in-classroom instruction as possible. So I do know that as teachers, we're going to automatically come to know our students and take into consideration that there are some situations that we will need to view a little bit differently, but we do that in the in-class environment as well. However, students will be held accountable for their work. They will be held accountable for their attendance. They will be held accountable for their overall efforts. Um, we are going to raise the bar. I know that there will be grace, but from my understanding, it won't be before grade. Students will need to put in adequate effort.
And that's going to be an interesting thing. What do you think is the biggest obstacle to education since the pandemic? Or just what are some obstacles that have just hindered? This whole grace before grades is a curse and a blessing, as both of you said. For some students, it made them lazy. It made them lose their work ethic. It made them lose their desire to work. For others, it gave them, I'm just going to work. I'm going to do this. Some students like being alone. Some people need other people, need to be around people, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But what do you see as some obstacles to or hindrances to education in this pandemic times?
I think
Um,
one, time management. I think that would be the biggest thing, more so than anything. Unfortunately, procrastination. Sometimes they'll have, in the spring, we allowed our students roughly, I think, a week to get the work done. And a lot of students that I noticed when I would go online and double check and recheck the work, they were waiting to the very last minute to do the work.
mhm,
So if you're waiting to the very last minute to do 7 or 8 classes, you know,
mhm.
you're rushing through your work. And the past spring, we gave you grace. In the fall, you're getting a grade. And so that would not be advisable for our students to wait to the last minute to do, you know, 6, classes worth of work. And it's going to hurt them. So I think one of my things that I think will be time management. Kids actually taking the time and treating this as if, although they're at home, they are still in school, and go ahead and utilize those school hours that they would be in school to do their work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just one thing that I think will be a big concern is students actually managing their time wisely.
I can see that definitely in the high school. What about in the elementary? What's your take on that?
So I do agree. That was also a challenge for students. They need as much guidance as possible. And it depends on how the teacher wants to facilitate their online class. I am more of, there was a checks and balance every day with my students. Some teachers put the whole unit or put the whole week out there and was like, hey, all your work is due on Sunday or Monday morning. So I think that sometimes that can be challenging for a student because they think in their head, oh, I have until Sunday. and then Sunday gets here and you haven't done anything. So that does become a challenge. One of the things that I think is going to be the biggest challenge for this virtual learning environment is that it's going to truly expose a lack of support at home or a abundance of support. Um, we are trying to build a climate, not with just our students now, but with our parents. And in the in class or in person learning environment, even if we did not have a good rapport or we did not have a good communication pathway to parents, we still had the kid there. So the kid actually came into the classroom. We actually got to see the kid. We tried to make some impact. Now, it is no way that this is going to work if there's not a love triangle. It needs to be the teacher, the student, and the parents. And so that is going to be one of the biggest challenges is that some of those parents want their kids to excel, but they don't know how to support their kids. And that's going to be a challenge. As we're reaching out to parents, they're reaching out to us saying, I don't know what to do. I haven't did this math in like 1,000 years, or, I don't know what this layer of the earth is. We didn't study this in my when I was in school. So building that relationship and building that climate is going to be a challenge in my opinion. In addition, the students that I had after spring break, I'd already met those parents. I'd already had conferences with those parents. I built a rapport with those parents. We're going into a new school year with a brand new roster with kids that we probably never seen before. So, how do you build that climate? How do you ensure those parents that you need their support and that you're willing to collaborate with them and you're willing to invite them into the process?
And that is going to be a challenge where creativity comes in. Um, it's more challenging online, and I want to get into talking about communication. But first, I want to look at a comment that was made that discipline is the answer. Parents should be accountable for their students' willingness to do their work during this pandemic. And a lot of times, and I do agree that parents need to stay on it. A lot of times, having been a counselor in the schools and then a counselor in private practice, I see that some parents, when I say can't do it, and you're like, well, that's just an excuse. Emotionally, whatever, some parents are just not there. They don't have the ability, they're not the emotional stability to even help their students, even when they want to, because of whatever's going on in their life. And that can be not necessarily an abundance, but that is a situation. Another parent, someone is saying, you want kids on the computer, online all day. And the thing is, well, if they go to school, they'll be in school all day. If they go to school, they're going to get up. There's 10 minutes between each class. Looking at high school, they get to go back and forth from class to class. Or not sitting in the same spot looking at a screen. And so when we're looking at the synchronous education that we talked about before, if you're going to have a child sit in front of a computer all day long, that there are so many reasons for brain development why that's not even good and why it doesn't work. And I've seen elementary schools where students were required to be in uniform in front of a computer for the whole day. And the parent was supposed to take the phone outside and record them during recess. They were supposed they wanted to go play, so the parent was supposed to go and record it. Yeah, you can tell my opinion of that. However, we have to find ways to. We need the parent to be there to be accountable. We need them to do the work, but it has to be in a way that it can really get done. And I don't think. Let's see. This parent says, "I'm nervous this school year because before my son could log on at his convenience, but this school year he will be online from 7:25 to 2:35." And she's in school as well. So, what do you do when parents are, you think about it from a parent's point of view when they do have to go to work? And, I'm a single parent, I have to go to work, and I have a second grader. What do I do with that second grader? I have some things I'm going to suggest, later on. But what do you guys say? That's a lot. What do you do when the parents have to work and we do want them to be accountable?
Um, so definitely because I'm in the elementary side, I'm on the elementary side. And yes, me being a sixth grade science and social studies teacher looks very different from a first grade, self-contained class or second grade self-contained class. So I think that's where we as teachers have to make those connections, and that's where the grace would come in. There is a legitimate situation, and those conversations need to be had. We can't, as educators, and even as our powers to be, the superintendents, we cannot tell a parent how to manage their life. That is up to them. So I think that for me, then I understand that. I don't know what situations are going to need to be in place to handle those types of circumstances because it is very challenging. But if I know this going in, if mom is or dad has a conversation, like we work every day, our second grader has to go to grandma's house. They have no clue on how to get them to do this work, or my fifth grader has to go to grandma's house. They are not able to support them. But when we get home, we can then. So I think that's where I would start to look at each child's situation differently. But again, that takes an open line of communication with myself, the parent, for me to understand that, but still hold that child accountable as much as possible. And that's as far in depth as I can see in situations such as that.
On the high school side, Trish, you have any comment?
Honestly, no. Um, like Kanetra was saying, communication is basically the key. Um, if you let, if a parent let too much time pass where the situation where the child isn't turning in work and then all of a sudden all these zeros are popping up, parents will automatically get concerned, wonder why. Um, Hopefully, I hope the teacher has contacted the parent or emailed them. Normally, what I do is I contact parents via email and also call. But my first line, since I have emails right it's embedded in our system, and so I can shoot an email real quick to the parent as well as to the student. I need you to turn in some work. Or why aren't you doing your work? What is the problem? What issue or concerns you might have? Um, if there's no communication, honestly, the teacher does not know, and the only recourse is for the teacher to plug in zeros because grades have to be added into the system. That's one of the requirements that they do expect for us to put in grades weekly, so parents will know what is possibly going on academically with their child. So
Right.
without the lines of communication, it's a big problem. A big problem.
Right. So grades need to be a true reflection of the student's work. And if there is no work that's being turned in, then unfortunately the true reflection, and as teachers, and it varies depending on grade levels and schools, but at what point should we contact a parent? Some parents are like, if my student misses one assignment, I need you to call me. And I don't know how realistic that can be. It just depends. There are those teachers such as myself who is very passionate, and I am going to try my best to support that student and to involve that parent. But I'm also a teach you how to fish teacher as well. So I say that, and when parents say, well, I wasn't aware that they were missing this assignment. Well, we have a parent self-serve system that allows you to go in, create your own login, and you can check your students' grades real time, every day, all day, 24/7. And so with that, I also promote that at the very beginning of the year. Parents, do you have your self-serve account set up? Are you aware that you can see grades real time? You can see them every week. You can go in and see that information. The same with the online platform that we use in my particular school district. Parents, are you aware how to use Canvas from the parent portal side? And I've been the go-to person on my team to train parents on all of those tools because I want to make sure that they understand you don't necessarily need an email from me every single time your student does not complete an assignment or turn it in. but you have it at your fingertips. You can go in and check to see what they're doing without even asking them. Because of course, well, I asked him or her and they said they did all their work.
Of
You know
course, they're
what?
gonna
Let me
say
help
that.
you with that. Absolutely. So let me help you with that. This is your login. Let's get you set up. And look, you can go in and see every single class your student is taking this semester or this year, and you can find out what their grades reflect before the progress reports come out, before report cards are printed.
So what I hear is that the biggest thing or the most important thing is communication, and I want to stress that parents
Rowan,
talk. Yes.
hold on for 1 second. I'm going to segue in with what Teacher was saying. Not only that, with the parent self-serve portal, they can receive notifications. They
Mhm.
can
Yes.
actually set where if they don't want their child making below an 80, they can
Mm-hmm.
set the system to notify them when their child makes below an 80.
Mm-hmm.
So
Customized
with
thresholds.
parents,
Mm-hmm.
yes, with parents self-serve, I mean, it does a lot of things to contact parents from even with attendance. If their child is absent that day or missing an assignment or what have you. So it's really a good tool for parents to use. And unfortunately, a lot of parents have not set up, their accounts or they're not aware of it.
And that is
So,
true. A lot of parents don't understand how that works. So I would say to teachers, if you're sending out information in the beginning of the year, send out how to get on self-serve. I, as a parent, have it
hmm
set. I know what when you get one grade, your grade drops below my threshold, I'm going to get a text and an email. I have it set up for both. So I get a text, I get an email. Oh, you were marked, and I will call you. You were marked absent in second period today. Where were you? I was there. Da da da. Okay, well, I'm going to email your teacher. Are you sure you were there? That actually happened. And the teacher said, "Oh yeah, he did come in late. I didn't go back and change it." I said, "Oh, you don't even need to go back and change it, as long as he just showed up." You know. But so
Right.
there are a lot of stop gaps in there. So this is going to need to be an education year for both ways, where teachers are going
Mm-hmm.
probably need to give out more and push more about what is there. Most districts have some kind of self-serve, what do they call it, different districts use different programs, but most districts
Mm-hmm.
have those programs in place where you can get notifications about grades, about attendance. You can, if you are a parent, you can log on to the school's website. Most schools, you can click on the teacher's name and the teacher's email comes up. If you're in
hmm
whatever grading system where you're checking it, you can click there and it'll shoot an email to the teacher. So but you have to be technology savvy, and there are parents who are not. So those are just some things. Everybody doesn't, we're assuming that when a parent doesn't do it, they don't care. Maybe they're not tech savvy. There's so many other things. Before we sign off, I wanted to read another comment. Um, this is from Claudia Taylor. Says her coworker is possibly going to take FMLA because her daughter is in special ed and will not be returning to the class at the beginning of the school year. She says, I think this is ridiculous. Who is making these decisions? I think it should be up to the school district, and this child is inclined. And it is. Some districts are saying that special ed students will be allowed to go back to the campus.
On campus.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
again, this is district by district, and they will make provisions, different provisions for special needs students. That is, again, district by district. Um, because this is such a topic and so real, we're going to extend it into next week because there's some more things more we want to give parents more information. We want to just put some things out there because some parents may not know anything about how to do their in these teachers districts is called parent serve, but in your district how to find out how do you access teachers, how to engage. So we want to spend more time with that. I also, as part of my counseling and consulting business, we are going to do something where we have support for parents. Some parents really don't know. And some parents are so stressed out with trying to work and be that The single parent who's, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to work. I'm going to get my child in it. They're hoping it's at least asynchronous, as we talked about. So, okay, when I come home at night, I'm going to make sure everything is done. But I'm scratching and surviving, trying to make it, and I'm stressed out. How can I do it? So, what at Able Counseling and Consulting, what we offer is support to parents to help you set it up. Every child's home and everybody's home is a different situation. There is no cookie cutter way, but we are going to help you with time management. We're going to help you with systems with your child. We're going to help you with things like finding out your child's learning style and your learning style so that you can find out what works best. I'll have more details about that will be on my Able Counseling and Consulting Facebook page, and I'll talk about it more next week. But we want to give more information because, as Claudia says, the parent might not even be aware of can they get on? Is there special circumstances for special needs students? So we want to give you as much information as we can about what to look for. So if you know other parents who may be stressed out, have them log in next week, and we'll have a chance to talk more about what they might do. And for those of you who may be stressed out, life is more than you can handle even without these pandemic times. I am a licensed professional counselor, certified Christian counselor, and a life coach. I'm here to help you. Reach out. You can give me a call at 682-272-3949. I'm here to help. If you're on Facebook, you can, in watching through Facebook, you can message me. For your friends who don't have Facebook and want to find out what we said tonight, this is uploaded by Saturday to various podcast forms as well as YouTube. So join us next week as we talk more about education. It's crazy, it's driving us crazy. And remember, mental health is just health, it's all health. We'll see you next week.